So welcome back to On Behind the Team. Today we'll be talking about Sekigahara again, and today we begin the battle. See how much etiquette is involved in Japanese history, culture, and this bleeds into the battle itself. Now, the first thing this will make sense later on at the end of the battle is you have to note that throughout the whole battle, Tokugawa Ieyasu did not wear his helmet. The second thing is the loss of favor of Hidetada. Now, Hidetada was basically taking 36,000 men from the Nakasendo and was supposed to join up with Tokugawa Ieyasu to fight Ishida Mitsunari. Now, due to the siege of Sanada Masayuki, he is delayed and did not reach the battle. Now, this failure to do so meant that he had put himself in a precarious situation as heir to the Tokugawa clan. And Tokugawa Ieyasu, always the person looking forward, and thus he needed to promote another son. In this case, he promoted Matsudaira Tadayoshi, his fourth son. Now, if you're wondering how come the surname is Matsudaira, the thing is that Japanese people, they get new names as they grow up. You know, just as Takehita Shingen used to be called something else when he was younger. In this case, Tokugawa's youth name, in a way, was Matsudaira, but he was still a son of Tokugawa. In this case, to promote Matsudaira Tadayoshi and give him prestige, he decided to allow Tadayoshi to join the battle. And he put him under the protection of Iyo Naomasa and 30 of his Red Devils as his personal guard. These are the elite units, and of course of the game itself, the only one with power of 4. So with that, the fields are set and the battle is to begin. Now, for Japanese etiquette, this comes from actually the Chinese way of battle, in that the person who leads the attack is given great honor. And in this case, the Tokugawa allowed the clan of the Fukushima to lead the attack. The thing is, someone was not going to allow that, and that person was Iyo Naomasa. And why is that? The thing is, Iyo Naomasa saw this battle between Ishida Mitsunari and Tokugawa not as Ishida versus Tokugawa. He saw it as Toyotomi versus Tokugawa. And thus he felt that a loyal Tokugawa vassal should be allowed this honor rather than a Toyotomi one. So how did Iyo Naomasa get past this situation? Story goes that Iyo Naomasa with Matsudaira Tadayoshi decided to ride up to the front lines. Now, when he got near the front lines, of course the Fukushima guards said that the honor of leading the battle was under the Fukushima. That being said, he got his trump card. He said that this is the first battle of the son of Tokugawa Ieyasu, and that's why he would like him to be in the forward lines to see how the battle went. Now, the guard, of course, then had nothing to say, and because are you going to stop the Lord's son from viewing the battle and gaining experience, right? So they allowed him through. As he started to ride forward, he charged the field and basically started the battle. This of course angered Fukushima to no end, and as Iyo Naomasa was riding forward, he was shouted at that Fukushima was given the honor of leading the attack. And what it is said that Iyo Naomasa shouted was that he was taking Matsudaira Tadayoshi on an inspection. That being said, the battle started, and of course Fukushima then had to support the attack, because if anything of course happened to Matsudaira Tadayoshi, and on top of that, if he didn't join the attack, basically it would have been treason. And this is not in the sources, but it also makes sense that maybe, in my own view, that Tokugawa might have also planned this in a way. Because, you know, in this battle to decide Japan, if Tadayoshi was the one that leads the attack, and if all speculations goes as planned, Hidetada was no longer going to become the heir apparent to the Tokugawa, and it was Matsudaira Tadayoshi. Then the fact that he was the guy who led the battle to Sekigahara would give him great honor. Now, this of course will not be a blow-by-blow account of all the different generals, and because if you want that information, it's very widely available. I'm here to basically give a lot of the stories that they're lost in all the myriad of information, the less-known facts. Now, one of the less-known facts actually is really cool. In many cases, when you read, it feels like Tokugawa was very calm throughout the whole battle, and of course, comparatively, he was very calm, but internally he was very anxious, and this was actually told by an account by his personal physician on the Battle of Sekigahara. What the story goes is that after the battle had begun, Tokugawa Ieyasu at one point moved forward his entire unit of 30,000 men, was given the order to move. One of his decided to get on a horse before Tokugawa Ieyasu. Now, this was a huge breach of etiquette, as Tokugawa as the lord was supposed to get on the horse first. And in most cases, when you read about Tokugawa Ieyasu, this kind of stuff doesn't really bother him to a certain extent. But in this case, it is said that he was so anxious internally that he took huge slight, that he drew his sword, attacked the guy actually had to run away. and actually was so frustrated and anxious that he actually also cut down a banner that someone was holding. So in this way, you can feel like all the nerves burning out in him finally was vented at this one point. But you have to understand that made total sense, because basically this was what he planned his whole life for, you know. I mean, everything on this gamble to take Japan. He had waited and waited for Oda Nobunaga to pass, Toyotomi Hideyoshi to pass, and of course the fact that he also had to sacrifice his son Nobuyasu, all for this fact to get to this point. The next point of etiquette was Shimazu Yoshihiro. Now the Shimazu clan was positioned in a place where it was under heavy attack, but yet they didn't commit any of their soldiers and basically stayed completely stationary. So Ishida Mitsunari, seeing that his line there was being pressured, still holding but pressured, decided to send a messenger to tell Shimazu Yoshihiro to join the battle. And the story goes that the messenger rode there on his horse and shouted to Shimazu Yoshihiro that he had been ordered to join the battle. Now, instead of responding, what happened was that messenger was chased off for basically being rude, for not getting off his horse to report to a daimyo. But still, the Shimazu did not move. That's the important fact. And after a while, and then due to the pressure of the situation, Ishida Mitsunari himself had to ride all the way over to the Shimazu lines and come to ask that Shimazu Yoshihiro join the battle. By which Shimazu Yoshihiro basically said that this is a battle and each man must look to his defenses. And with that, Ishida Mitsunari basically just had to hope that sooner or later Shimazu Yoshihiro joined the battle, and he rode off. Now, if you're wondering why that's the case, that the Shimazu joined the western side but would not fight, it's because in the text, there are several reasons. One of which you have to consider is the fact that actually Yoshihiro, when he rode out of his lands to the main island of Honshu, he was actually going to join Tokugawa Ieyasu. It's just that he was intercepted by someone and then convinced to join Ishida Mitsunari. The other point is when earlier during the campaign, he had basically given the idea that they should have done a night attack to attack Tokugawa, as his men were very tired from a long march from the east. And it was put down by Ishida Mitsunari, basically calling him a coward in a way. And it is also said that he might have taken a huge slight to that. And that's why he refused to basically listen to Ishida Mitsunari. And of course, like the last episode we said, this shows that how much it is between daimyo to daimyo. No one had really the power or the authority to command another daimyo. That being said, it did not mean that the Shimazu did not fight, because they were forced into it by Io Naomasa. Io Naomasa and Masudara Tadayoshi basically charged and attacked the Shimazu position. That of course got them to fight because, well, everybody got to look into their own defenses, right? Around this point, that Mitsunari decided to show his trump card, and he fired the flare. The flare was actually the signal for the Kobayakawa, who was positioned basically to flank Ieyasu. Now, he fired the flare and nothing happened. You have to understand, the Tokugawa side was actually just as anxious. The daimyo of the Kobayakawa also actually sent a letter. He would support the Tokugawa in this fight. But yet, he was also not coming down to attack the Ishida side. So both sides were basically looking to Kobayakawa Hideki to do something. And on another story on etiquette, Tokugawa Ieyasu was anxious, and thus he sent Yagami Goemon to go and find out what the hell is Kobayakawa Hideki thinking. Yagami Goemon rode all the way to Kuroda Nagamasa, alright, to ask that had he received any news of what the Kobayakawa were doing. Now, as he rode there, he basically shouted Koshu. Koshu was actually the province that Kuroda Nagamasa owned. It's like, for example, using a nickname to call someone. You know, so he was basically like, Koshu, what's happening? But the thing is, after Goemon left, Kuroda Nagamasa turned to one of his lieutenants and said, "Now, this is a battle, yes, but let's not forget our etiquette." So it's very strange. You can see that how throughout, even in the most tense of times, the Japanese felt that it was very important to keep to etiquette and to manners. Now we move to the other end of the battlefield, and where the Mori troops are positioned. Now, if you remember, the Mori also promised not to join the battle. Under the Ishida side, they basically said that we are with the western side, but during the proper time, we will not join the western side, should we say. At any point at time, this huge amount of Mori troops could actually turn the tide, but they were not moving also, which also must have irritated Ishida Mitsunari to no end. But the fact is, he also knew about the rumors, and he heard how the Mori had made a deal with the Tokugawa. All he needed to do was get Kobayakawa down, and with victory in hand, the Mori would probably join his side. But at this point, he has not achieved that. And the way that the Mori were held from battle was that the person who made the deal between the Mori and the Tokugawa was the Kikawa clan. And thus, without his order to move forward, basically no one could, because if he didn't move, the Mori wouldn't move, and the Mori didn't move, the rest of the troops could not move either, because they would basically be outnumbered or in a very bad position. And more than once, messengers were sent to Kikawa asking him to start the battle in that position, by which he actually gave a very interesting reply. He said, "I'm eating, so please don't bother me." He held the entire flank, basically didn't fight under the orders of one man. So that is the first part of the Battle of Sekigahara. Next time we'll move to the conclusion of the Sekigahara battle. What will Kobayakawa do? What will happen during the battle? They will turn the tide. Find out next time, and let me know if you have any comments. Thank you very much. Till next word.